Says we're live. We're live.
Official?
Officially live. This is great. Um,
I'm just waiting for the YouTube live to show up. Come on, YouTube. I can see you're telling me that we're live. Is it on there? Let's go. Come on. Show me that you're live. I just keep refreshing. Show me that you're live.
well, I can see us, so hey,
I mean,
yeah, Como, hey, Dawn is here.
there we go.
Hey, Robin.
Hello, hello. I'm already starting to write down names.
Yay! This is a very exciting book to be covering. Yeah, I was as Jill and I were in our separate spaces getting ready. I pulled up our Zoom space and then I was like, oh, I got a few minutes. I don't have to do anything. I start looking at the book again, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, it's like 2 minutes to 8. I need to start the stream.
Yeah, you really can just like go into like this like alternate universe. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, but I definitely get super lost in pincushions.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you guys, I was just telling Jill, I was grabbing things. I was like, oh, I've got stuff I can show that's, kind of goes along with Dawn's talking points she gave us and the book. And I was like, maybe this is too much. Because like
Not that I think anyone, especially Dawn, is going to complain for looking at all of your eye candy, but
we
I
may not have time. Yeah, we don't have eight hours tonight. So
well, half me when I was like looking for like just some things to grab real quick, I was like, I've got this really cute kind of a small version of like an antique curio downstairs, and I'm like, well, I could just take the whole thing and like pick it on up there. Yeah, see, Don's like, there's no such thing as too many pincushions.
I
When I
I
was like,
wholeheartally agree.
well, and reading everything, I'm like, you can collect this stuff forever because you're like you can't ever run out of varieties and different things. Oh, Janet said thimbles are her thing. I mean, you just
Well,
can't.
I mean, I one thing I have to say about Dawn's book is there are a few other sort of needlework tool like books out there that not super great. There's one that's I feel like it's pretty dense, but they're all like drawings. They're not, I think it's an older book.
Mhm.
And I think I got that one after Dawn's book. And I was like, okay, Antique American Needlework Tools, like far better. Like, you know, does cartwheels and runs miles ahead of this other book. But I think what probably made me like feel good about my collection, because I kept thinking like, oh, my collection's like it's kind of crappy, and that was where my head was at. And I thought, like all these other places I see these fine needlework tools are usually like the gold and silver encrusted stuff from France. And, I know you have a few of those like, star studded pieces, but um the idea that this like really American stuff has value, to study
Yeah.
and to collect, that made me feel better, and I don't know why, like I felt bad about my collection. That's such a silly thing, but yeah, I felt like I'm actually doing something with this stuff and it's not just litter collecting around my house. This is legit
No,
like
it is
antique and
not.
vintage
I
stuff.
mean, if you were to say, come get all this litter out of my house, it would be the one time I'd say, okay.
Yeah, my
But
husband's like, sure, anybody who wants this litter. Um,
he's fired.
yeah, Yes. So I'm not going to really get into this very deeply, but I did have to show this abomination.
Is that thread in a plastic
Oh
ball?
no, these are all
Oh, it's
thimbles.
thimbles? It's thimbles. Okay, thimbles.
Yeah, it's a, I believe it was a Lindt chocolate container that,
Oh,
the Lindt chocolates that are shaped like balls. I think somebody gave us one of those like one Christmas, and of course, I promptly ate all the Lindt chocolate. And I was like, this is a really cool container. It's a real nightmare to get the thimbles out because I have so many of them in there
I
now,
was gonna
but
say, how did you even get them all in there like that tightly?
you have to kind of slide it open a little bit. Yeah, they fall out.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, these are a lot of like just, when you buy old estate sale stuff, sewing stuff, and you end up with
Mm-hmm.
like a trillion thimbles. And sometimes you find one in there that's like, it's sterling or, it's got somebody's name engraved, but most of the time it's their, old things. So I chuck them in there and I need to go through them and see if there's anything of value in there.
Hi, Tish.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
let's
get
move on
going.
with some announcements.
Yes. So let me share my screen because you're doing the announcement. Okay, what is going on here? There we go. Okay.
So, as we had mentioned at certain points, there were going to be some goodies to go along with this reading. Obviously, this is the first time we're doing some giveaways. And boy, Dawn did not disappoint with stuff she's offered up for giveaways. So, we're going to do one a week because we're going to wrap this up in about 4 weeks. And we've made some participation kind of rules for you to be entered in. Can you give me the next one, Steph?
Sure. There we go.
Oh, you don't have week 1 or week 2 or week 3?
Oh,
That's okay.
whoops.
So
I thought it was all in this one. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Just go back to the other one for me.
Okay.
So for weeks 1, 2, and 3, week 1, you get a mug, which I happen to have one here. Dawn gave me and Stephanie one of these each as a gift. Steph, you don't have yours yet, so too bad. And in order to be entered in to those giveaways, you need to participate in the chat. So for tonight, any participating you do in the chat, I am keeping a tally. And at the end of tonight's live, we will do a drawing so that you can win this cutie mug. Next week will be Dawn's Merry Witherwax pattern, which is amazing. I have a copy of it right here. This is a hefty pattern. It's all it's applique where she has patterned with her daughter, I believe. Dawn, correct me if I'm wrong. This quilt by Merry Witherwax, it's got some history in it. It's got applique pattern in it. And this will be yours in week 2 for participating in the chat. Week 3 is a really nice duffel bag. I will open that on week 3 because it's in a bag. It is a very nice bag, very hefty. The straps are fantastic. I use it to lug books. And then week 4 will be kind of our grand finale where we're going to have Dawn on here to chat. And it's the giveaway for that is going to be her book, her newest book, which is about sewing rolls, needle rolls, and housewives. And we've seen so far already some roll type things. There's more rolls in the book we're reading currently, but Dawn did a book just about those. And that is going to be the giveaway for that. And in order to enter for that week 4 giveaway, we'll do that drawing on our very last night. But you have from now until then to take a picture of you with your American Needlework Tools book that says, I'm participating. We've given you some options here. You could take it with a pet. It doesn't have to be curated. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It can be simple. It can be on your desk. It doesn't have to have your face in it. We'd like to share these on social media unless you tell us otherwise. And in order to get those to us, you can either post it on your social media and tag at Quilt Nerding or at Collector with a Needle, or you can DM the photo to either account and we will share them for you. So I think I've answered all that. Anything else,
Yeah.
Steph, that I've left out?
I don't think so.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited because, like I think I've said this before, we've been reading books that are out of print. We
Mhm.
haven't had contact with the authors, and we just happen to be lucky enough to be friends with this fantastic author who has generously, you know, said that she will accompany us. She will come on the stream. We did not ask for giveaways. She offered giveaways. So I was like,
Mhm.
so this is very exciting. And plus it's just such a great book, you know? So
I'm
that was all
excited.
I
So
had to say.
remember, I'll remind throughout the hour, participation in the chat enters you into tonight's giveaway. We'll do the drawing at the end of the stream. All right.
Okay. So are we ready to look at some cool stuff? And Dawn sent us awesome pictures too.
Ugh, we are ready.
So
I actually just got goosebumps. That's how excited I am. That is how
so
excited I am.
this is a little needle book, like giveaway kind of thing. And it is life insurance. And so many organizations, from grocery stores to dry cleaners to insurance banks, gave away things like thimbles, needles, needle packets, sewing kits. We'll get into all that stuff later, but they were giving away these things because they recognized, women have, they have a stake in their family and the things that are happening with their family. But what one of the talking points Dawn gave us, which was something I knew, but it always, like, every time I read about it, it just smacks me in the face. And she said, so this was a note she gave us. American advertising focused on women as the purse string managers of the household. However, women could not purchase policies, mortgages, or have bank accounts in their own names. So, and like, some of this goes up like into the 70s, you guys. And I mean, some of you that are, older than us may remember this, with maybe your mothers or yourselves. Like, you could not get a credit card in your name until the 70s, just about.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be like your husband's name. And we've talked about all this stuff before. Like, so much of history is, not, Jane Smith, but Mrs. like John Smith. We never know her name. So it's so interesting that there was all this marketing towards women, even though they really did not have the power or ability to participate necessarily in these businesses that were advertising to them. And I think Dawn has these in the book. And this is jumping ahead into pins, but I mean, here's an example of a little giveaway premium. These are pin cards that it's got pins along the edge,
Mm-hmm.
but these are the Prudential, and these are very, like, they must have distributed like a trillion of these because I feel like I see them all the time. People have them, and you can very easily find them in good condition. But I mean, this is an example, like, they're really kind of pandering to the ladies. Like, look at these ladies with their beautiful children, and you too can be a beautiful lady with your beautiful child when you use this pin thing. But no, you can't have the insurance in your name, lady.
Well,
So,
especially considering the fact that even though women couldn't have things, they were clearly the ones running household.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
the whole like women behind the men kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, so Arlene said that's so we could bug the men. Happy wife, happy life.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that's where that comes from. Like, I can't vote. I can't have a checking account with my name, but I will make your life miserable until until things go around this house the way I want them to. So yeah, women had, I guess they had um their ways, you know.
And when Robin said she remembers being in high school talking about getting a credit card, and her dad informed her that she would need his signature to get one.
That's just so crazy. Right?
Yeah,
Insane.
that's and it's crazy because it's not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Not in my lifetime, but only shortly before my lifetime.
Well, I mean, I was born in the early 70s, and I mean, I do remember, even though my mom took care of all the finances and stuff, my dad's name was the name on everything.
Well, there you
So,
go.
I mean,
There's the perfect example that your mom really took care of the finances.
mhm, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, again, I look at this and I see, the marketing inside of this little needle book. Protect your loved ones, save for the future. These are the kind of words that insurance companies use, but again, it's directed at women. It's directed at the woman of the house.
I would actually argue it's we have that stereotype that we are
Mhm.
very deep, consistent, constant thinkers, always labeled as anxiety, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, we're the ones that are going to be nervous about like, what happens if my husband dies?
Mm.
You know, while
Yeah.
we're darning his socks.
Let me darn a few pins and needles right in there,
You know
sir.
what's what's funny is I see, shockingly, there are definitely needle books in here that I've never seen before. Um, but I see needle books around a lot when I'm out shopping, and I don't I don't necessarily think a lot about them. And now, after kind of like, reading more deeply, I'm like, maybe I should be picking them up because the quality alone is, you know, I'm not saying that necessarily, I don't know that I necessarily feel that like what we're making today isn't high quality, but I do know example like historical costumers will, they're still only going to sew with what was available at the time. And based on this, thinking that the English production of needles was superior to what we were making in the
Mhm.
US. I'm like, maybe we should be saving those the way that we save other things in the
I
world.
have a huge plastic shoebox full of needles that I've picked up, thrift stores, estate sales,
Hmm.
anywhere that if they're those old English needles, the gold eye needles, like all those, because they are much better.
Hmm.
Needles today, I have literally broken needles just trying to just hand quilting. Like, how do you break a needle hand quilting? It's not like I'm quilting through corduroy and denim. And so like, yeah, needles today, I guess whatever technology they're using or the quality of the steel, um, is just not as good. And yeah, like I am more than happy when I find like what we're showing here on the screen that I can shake a few needles out and actually use them because they're
Hmm.
far better. Yeah.
Well, thanks for proving my point that I need to be buying all the
Yeah.
needles.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is about needles, like especially packs that have been used, and if they're not, you know, I was flipping ahead here. The advertising premiums. Let's see, this is on page 25 of the book.
Hmm.
Hold this up. So she's got the advertising premium needle packets.
Hmm.
I actually have that A&P one, and I have the Food Bear one too.
Oh,
um,
really?
yeah, yeah. Actually, I bought a lady on eBay. She had a big collection of them, and she had a bunch that they weren't packaged up nicely. They were just kind of all in a big bag. And she said, "Yeah, I just want to get rid of these." And she sold them to me for not very much money. I was really surprised when I got it, and I was like, "Oh, these are pretty nice." And anyway, um, but yeah, those the I guess is it lithography or whatever the printing process on some of the older ones is
Hmm.
really, really good. It's kind of goes along with like American advertising stuff. And then the needles themselves are often very, very good too.
You know, Dawn, if you're still around in the chat there, given that a lot of this says collection of the author, do you just have boxes and boxes and boxes of needles? I feel like either you've pared it down to like one good example of all different kinds, or maybe there's just like a pirate's hoard of needles in your house.
Yeah, when I first read this book, and it's funny, I think I mentioned this last week, that I actually met Dawn a number of years ago. It's probably been about 10 years ago now. I did a quilt sort of road trip, like a day trip, with like the local quilt shop that my mom absolutely loves. And Dawn was an invited guest, and she did kind of a quilt turning and then came with us to the Virginia Quilt Museum. And there was another quilt teacher that was kind of like, you know, part of the lecture and everything. And we had a great time. And then like years and years later, I buy this book, and then Jill tells me, "Oh, I have this friend that has this great needlework tools book." And I'm like, "I think I have that book." And then last year, I'm looking at Dawn's picture in the back of the book, and I'm like, "She looks so familiar." But so before I put all the pieces together and remember that I had met Dawn before, I just kept thinking to myself, this lady must be so fascinating and have such an interesting like surroundings, because she has so many cool things in this book that have been part of her collection, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So,
Which, and she said she has drawers of packages, needle packages, in a wooden needle chest. Crawley's
oh,
needle, 3-drawer needle chest that has been used in shop counters. Wow.
oh,
That
very
is
cool.
fancy. I love
Mhm.
old display stuff. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I know. I know. And you and I guess last year at that antique show that you did, we had looked at a whole bunch of really cool display stuff. And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
I it makes me sad. The stuff we make today is just lame. It's just lame. Should we move on to some needle
Yeah.
holders here?
Yes. Oh, at the needle box first.
You got a needle box first.
So check this thing out when, you know, and this one is in the book, right?
I don't remember if I saw that one in the book.
I thought I did. Well, I'm not going to waste time flipping through here, but this, when Dawn first sent this, I kind of was like, oh, little box. And then I was like, wait a minute, 1 inch pin for scale. I mean, look at that. That little thing has, I mean, it's, I guess, made out of wood, maybe. And then it's got what looks like it had like a maybe a velvety kind of interior. And I guess it's maybe covered with leather or some leather look kind of paper. You know, I know they sometimes covered things with it looked leather, but it was really paper. And then this little paper label on the inside. And that thing is for keeping needles. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and I mean, just based on, you know, it's probably about yay big. It's tiny. It's smaller than a business card. It
And you know,
seems
it's
to
like I
me.
don't think I have one in my collection.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that.
No, actually,
Um,
you know what? If I sometimes if I forget what's in my collection, I ask Dawn what's in my collection. Because usually when I'm out shopping, I'm sending her photos like, you think I should get this? Oh, maybe I'll get this. What do you think of this? And then she's the first person I'm showing when I get home because I don't, well, I haven't known you for years, Steph, but up until recently, I didn't have a ton of like friends that I was geeking off about this stuff with. So yeah, it was mostly all done. But this is my collection. I don't know. It's a
you know,
cool
and I
box
think
though.
yeah, I mean, I think this box kind of illustrates for me probably what a lot of us like about needlework tools. You know, obviously, we probably all sew, right? In some capacity. We're quilters, we're cross stitchers, whatever, you know, whatever needlework you do, you have the love of the tools because you do the work. But also, I feel like it's like so many needlework tools are just like little tiny things. You know, they're little small things that you could carry with you, pocket, purse, you know, whatever. And they have a purpose and they're just so charming. You know, I mean, do you need a needle box like this? No. You
No,
can keep
yes,
your
I do.
needles and like you can literally keep your needles in like a swatch of fabric. You know, you
Hmm.
don't necessarily need something that's so finely crafted, but it's delightful that it is, right?
Well, that and yeah, like so Dawn just mentioned needle packages were really tiny and needles were sold
Hmm.
individually in some locations. So imagine, even though this box is small, um, how many of the needle packages you could actually fit in that thing.
Yeah, well, you know, actually, as I was digging through my stuff, and I won't pull it out, but it's much newer, and I want to say it probably had like maybe manicure tools in it or something, but
Hmm.
it's like a little like it's got the little I can't remember what you call that little thing at the top of like a change purse, the little kiss clasp.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is only like it's only about this big. And I think it's like leather or faux leather, but when I opened it, and I can't remember where I got it, I've had it forever, but when I opened it, it had a bunch of the little tiny packages of needles that are only like, they're like 1.5 inches by, 3/4 of an inch. I mean, they're little paper packets. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's easy to lose that stuff in a sewing basket or something. So to have a little box is helpful.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I have some other kinds of boxes, I guess, that I would use for that, but not
Well,
a box as cool as that one.
let's move ahead to what I think is the most exciting and delightful is these guys.
I feel like, oh no, I was gonna say, didn't we recently get you something like this? But it was the umbrella.
Oh no, we did get me something like
Did
this.
we? Okay, okay. Oh, okay. Was that at Penn's?
No. So this is, and you guys are going to curse me when I give you this information. There is an Instagram account called, is it Glee Kruger?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And Glee Kruger was, I'm assuming, was she a collector? Like, I don't know anything more about her other than that she was this delightful woman who was a collector. I'm assuming she taught, maybe lectured. I don't know that she was necessarily a dealer, but in any event, she has passed away, and her daughter Whitney sells this kind of selling off her collection. And sounds like she probably has twice as much stuff as you do, Dawn. It seems to me she's constantly got all this awesome stuff for sale. And when she does these sales, you have to act quick. And I was able to get this. And so this is what Donna's showing here in this picture. And, it's hand carved bone, right? It's, they're, I think they're like French, like this was something that like was French, but
Don just said the
I would,
Peapods have claims that are American English or French or something else.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like when I bought this, maybe she said it was French or I don't know. I can't remember the specifics, but I mean, look, it's a little bit different than the ones that Dawn has pictured.
Mm-hmm.
If mine is kind of like straighter,
Mm-hmm.
I keep trying to hold it. You can see it. Maybe has a little bit less of a natural bean shape.
Yeah, it's
Whereas,
yours is a little straighter.
yeah,
It's
that's
a
so
little
like
less realistic.
yeah, hers, I think the smaller one has kind of that like slight curvy bean shape. Um, I think all of them have the lumps of the beans. Can you
Mm-hmm.
see? I'm sort of holding
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So that it's got that realistic aspect to it. And I mean, it's just, again, such a charming little thing. Would you need a pot of beans to hold your needles? No, you wouldn't. But I mean, it's so delightful. And, I troll eBay all the time to look at this stuff. If you look at, and they're not necessarily American, they would be like European continental, whatever, but you'll find these just incredible things that are, you know, all kinds of animals, all kinds of natural objects. I think it was like whatever really struck people's fancy, that these manufacturers or whatever would create this stuff, and just I guess people just loved it. They ate it up.
Don said that Glee was everything. Author, collector, historian extraordinaire. One of her daughters runs the sales. Most of her collections went to museums. That makes me happy because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of times these small objects are not necessarily valued as worth
Hmm.
saving, worth studying, so that
Yeah.
makes me really happy. She really had nice stuff.
Yeah.
Many
And
of
the
the
other,
photos. Oh, she said many of the photos she shared with us are not in the book.
okay. Okay.
Because I was gonna say, I thought I was crazy. I'm like, I don't think I saw that needle thing, but good to know.
Yeah, I thought I did, but this is COVID brain still. How long am I going to be able to keep saying that? But yes,
Like months.
this is not a natural object, but this is a little tiny parasol. And so Jill knows this one. I bought this when I was with her. But it's the same kind of idea. It's like carved bone, and then the little pieces are celluloid. So this, I guess, is probably from the, I don't know, early 20th century. But I did learn from Don's book that there, you know, I knew about ivory, you know, whale ivory, and you know, the issues with that. Whaling was, you know, kind of a cruel thing. And when that kind of stopped, and then the deal with the bones, I had no idea that, you know, cows were being slaughtered younger here during that. I don't know, I guess, I don't know what you call it, like the meat packing boom. I'm not sure, but the bones that they would use for some of these tools were just not strong enough, you know, in a younger animal. So that you know, I had no idea about that. That was really an interesting fact that they had to switch to using Argentinian bovine bones because in the US the animals were being slaughtered younger and not, you know, we're not as strong. I mean, it's kind of an awful thing when you think about it, but it's an interesting fact.
Yeah, I did not take out. Oh wait, no, I'm lying. I do have a needle holder. So on page, where is it? Did we get there yet? I feel like there'll be like quite a bit of jumping around.
Oh, well, you're looking for that. And one thing that Dawn said was folk tales surround needles and pins. And they really do, you know, there's like all that's like what, you know, see a pin, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. You know, and I guess coming from the perspective of these things were available in the US. Needles were being imported because I guess the needle manufacturing in the US never really got itself going and took off the way it, you know, did in the UK. But this stuff was not cheap. You know, today it's no big deal to run out and buy a pack of needles if you need them. But this stuff was precious. And they were careful. I mean, that is the reason why they have these little doodads and thingamabobs to hold on to pins and needles.
So
And also your husband gets really mad when you drop one of them and he steps on it. That's a good reason to have a good pincushion.
So in closer to the beginning of the chapter, where we're talking about like needle books and things like that, I have this guy.
Oh, that's so cute.
So this is claiming to be dated from the 1920s. And it's drawn on the front. It's like a silk wrap. And then it's got like a cushion in the middle that it's holding. These are they look like the blackhead pins that we're talking about here for the morning pins. Yeah, because the whole part of this pin is black. And then it's also on the back got initials.
Oh,
So given as a
initials.
gift.
It's that the initials are drawn to like their ink or something.
Yep, and it's all drawn. Because we have a message inside. And here's how it looks.
Oh, it's a letter writing there.
Yeah, this little messenger we send to bear a greeting to Mama. We bid her haste. Not tarry by the way, to wish all happiness on Christmas Day. And we have, you know, the wool pieces for needles, and then on the very back here, and wishing you a happy new year.
Aw.
And it's got all the ribbon and all that fancy stuff.
So, and you would say that's handmade, right? That's something handmade. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I have an
example. You can see the stitching, the hand stitching on it.
So I have an example of a handmade one that has not fared as well, but it's like, I think it was probably a silk ribbon or something that was used.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's kind of bound as a little book, and it has a little button, and a little crocheted button, like
Oh,
holder around
cute.
here. Um, but yeah, it's in pretty fragile shape, and I don't think it's that old
Oh,
either. Um,
Steph, can you switch the screen back to us? Robin was saying she couldn't see
oh.
as well.
Yeah.
I'll just show mine again real quick.
Okay.
Fabulous. So we got this little guy in the front here and
They're very cute.
needles on the side here that are black. And on the back, we've got initials and an inscription on the inside. And to hold needles, the wool, inscription here. Sorry about that. Robin, speak up
Yeah.
sooner next time.
And these are those black pins.
Mm-hmm.
These are toilet pins.
You know what's funny is I have those cubes I see all the time. Have I ever bought any? I have not.
I probably would like paid way too much for this one, but it's not, I mean, it's not almost full. It's about half used.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these are the pins that they would have used to like pin up and close stuff up. And then here's another little card of them I have that have the little
Oh,
pins.
yeah. I think I have a couple of those. Ooh.
Yeah, it's got like it almost looks like one of those cigarette cards or something, but yeah, it's glued on there. So
Dawn said the wide silk ribbon was often used in sewing rolls.
yeah, I mean, again, I think that's what this is. It just is kind of what it looks like to me. But like, I mean, it's worn all along the edges, and you can see there's paper that's been used in here. This cardboard definitely has some printing on it. So I haven't tried real hard to really look at it, because I don't want to destroy it. But
Dawn said the ink inscribed ones are so precious. Bring it back when we get to marking. All right, Dawn, I won't put it away. Fine. Actually,
well, and
if we look at it again for that, then maybe I'll take some actual like photos of it.
And what I was going to say about that is yours looks like it's in really good condition. Like maybe just wasn't even used a lot or was
Nope.
stored nicely. I feel like I see, again, I see this kind of stuff in it's, the needles that are and pins that are in there are rusted into the.
Yep.
And I want to say in the book, Don mentions that too, that, they're not able to be removed because they're literally rusted right into the fabric.
Speaking of rust, can I let you in on a little secret where I'm like, of course, I'm an idiot. So, emeries, I was of the school that thought they were to sharpen your needle, not to like polish and like remove like rust and stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's not really enough to sharpen anything, I
Well,
mean,
I always thought that, and I was like, why
well,
would
but
I
I mean,
use this to sharpen a needle?
yeah, I mean, and I guess that is what is kind of like portrayed about emeries. But yeah, I actually use because I do so much hand sewing, I use my emeries all the time. And I've made some myself, just like big honking emeries. Look at this one. I'm glad I threw this in.
That's an emery, not a pincushion?
This is an emery. This is full
Whoa.
of emery. And yeah, it's got one needle in it that is rusted in. Like I can't get that out. I don't think this is that old. Like this felt seems, I mean, it's not craft felt, but it seems like it's not that old. But I mean, this velvet and it's all emery.
Wow. So that must be a heavy sucker.
Yeah, it's a good weight.
Yakamo said off topic, Stephanie, maybe you can show Dawn the wooden circle that Dr. Dutton used because she might know what it is.
Oh, the push pins. Yeah, I should probably show that to Dawn. Yeah, don't let me forget, Jill, and I'll send that to Dawn. But yeah, I don't
let me
think
just put it on my list.
Yeah, I don't think it's a sewing tool. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I think it's an art tool. So, but yeah, I'll share that with you, Dawn, because I would be interested to get your take on it.
Yes.
Let's see.
I can't believe I I literally, right, so I'm reading about emeries, right? So I'm like here. And when I get to the part where like that it was like to like, polish, and I literally went like this.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. If you do hand sewing and you get frustrated because your needle is like, stick it through the emery
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see the difference. And I always make sure like this is how the best way to do it. Like pinch the emery and then you have to be careful not to stab yourself, but then, you stick it in there and you kind of pinch hard so that it's putting the grains of emery against there. And then you just kind of do that. And then you'll see like the shaft of your pins and needles is nicer.
Yep. Could have fooled me.
Well, you don't do the amount of hand sewing I do, so
I don't do like any amount of hand sewing.
um okay. So needle holders. I just wanted to show two things. This I feel like this is like really cool. I think these are pretty ubiquitous, but it's like a
Mm-hmm.
little barrel.
Yep, I've got that same one.
And then on the top there's a hole and it's
Yep.
like screwed together. And you basically like you turn this so that the hole matches the little marking on the side. And that would give you the needle. Like the needles would be in that little chamber
Mm-hmm.
in there, depending on size. And I this thing is so cute. And I don't think it has any needles, or maybe it has one in there somewhere. And then this thing, I got this in a sewing kit that I bought, I think, at an
Is
estate
it a
sale.
salt and pepper shaker?
I thought it was. It is not. Um, I don't know what it actually is, but they put their sewing machine needles in it. And these big honkin' sewing machine needles, which are probably for, like a hand crank or a vibrating
Mm-hmm.
shuttle because they're bigger and longer than
Mm-hmm.
or a industrial machine is a possibility too. But anyway, I was like when I first pulled it out, I was like, pepper shaker?
Should we move on real quick to thread? Because I want to get to pincushions.
Okay.
Um, Thread baffles me. It just baffles me. But I was having the same thought kind of here as the needles is like, I see original antique thread, in boxes and stuff around, and happens like, should I be buying that? Like, because like people still, especially again, like historical costumers and things like that, um, or if you're doing, I don't know if you're doing like conservation work and want to use the same thread that was originally used or something like that. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know.
Well, I do know like one of the challenges with old thread is it can be compromised.
Yo, sure.
It can be just, I mean, this, like how it's been stored, if it's been like heat and light could have like, degraded it and stuff. So, I mean, I know that historical costumers and conservationists do like to have like the, legit old stuff. Um, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I have a ton of thread and spools and stuff, but I probably need to go through it and see if any of it is special or, but I feel like, I guess what would be a valuable thread thing to collect is probably more of like the cabinets and the thread holding
Oh no, don't
apparatus.
get me started on that. That's a totally separate
You're
thing.
just talking about spools of thread.
Just
Um,
thread. Well, I will say, like,
yeah,
you do end up with a lot of thread. I do have quite a bit. It's great for like
yeah.
display kind of pieces,
Hmm.
especially, colored thread. Um,
I think also like unused thread and sets of thread are
mhm,
probably more valuable and sought after than, I think just random spools of thread. Like,
mhm.
and obviously people love wooden spools, because that's, I guess, a
Well,
sign of
that and
age.
in
But
here on page 35, the spool covers,
mhm.
on in Dawn has actually made some reproduction
Yes,
spool covers.
yes, and they are gorgeous. And I think they sell out quickly if I remember correctly, because I had my eye on her Etsy when she got those back in.
Hmm.
I also think that spool covers are kind of interesting, and I guess my question is, the point is to kind of be able to like sort of wrap your thread around, right? Like the tail of the thread just kind of,
The point is to pretty up the wooden spool.
oh, okay.
It's Like I don't see why you couldn't do what you're talking about, but like
Hmm.
generally it's just for pretty.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I know I
Um,
have some
Dawn
little
has some
plastic.
available just
Oh.
to let you know.
Um, I have some little plastic ones, probably from the 50s or 60s, that say Dritz on them, you know, the brand Dritz. And
Mhm.
I thought that was kind of what they for. You kind of punch them in the top of the spool and like, you know, if your thread, you don't want to lock your thread with that little slot, you just kind of, I don't know. Um, the one thing I would like to talk about thread is the thread waxers,
Mhm.
because this is something I didn't literally realize until this book, that these things were made and available in these gorgeous little, you know,
So
little
in a place that
you know.
I like to shop, um they've had some interesting waxers that when I'm out shopping and I'm sending pictures to Dawn because I take her shopping with me and she immediately will point those out and I think if I recall correctly, I think I've actually found some that were like pretty big and often when I find them they can be pretty expensive because I guess they're
Well,
just
and that
not.
was my question, is because this is a more rare item, right? You
Hey
know, like
Kate.
people, I'm assuming they bought these things and they actually used them.
Hmm.
And so they use them up. Or maybe like heat and storage made the wax like, you know, I could picture some of these like cute little, I think that's like a cat or something.
No,
I mean, I could
that's
picture,
oh the other side. You were showing the Plymouth Rock one.
yeah, oh, the Plymouth Rock. I love that.
So I just as a side note, because Plymouth Rock, Plymouth, Massachusetts, I want everyone here to know, especially if you've never been there, that basically the size that this waxer is also the size of the actual Plymouth Rock. Okay,
I've
so
heard that. I've heard that. I've heard that the Plymouth Rock is extremely underwhelming,
yes, it's just
but
like Plymouth
um
Pebble. It's not you like they made it to scale.
um I feel like this Plymouth Rock of Bayberry Sweet, I'm assuming that means that is like a scented wax.
I'm not the person to ask, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm guessing that it's a scented wax, but yeah, I would love to have that and see that in person way more than I care about the actual Plymouth Rock. But yeah, so and again, like I just assume that these things were are more rare because they are consumed or just don't, like the little frozen Charlottes that are in
Hmm.
wax. Like I've never seen anything like that. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, I've seen some other ones. It's funny, Don mentioned on here about the earliest wax was earwax and you can, get some so it gets to have scoops in them. And that was one thing that I was just like, oh, oh my. And I was like, yeah, I'll write a letter. I'll write, I'll sew this little, I don't know, something for my partner, and I'll write a love letter about now you can treasure me in this needle book. Yeah, because the essence of me has coated the thread with my
Uh,
lovely earwax.
Gross. I mean, who knew that sewing could at
Hey,
some points
beeswax.
be.
Don said beeswax too. Um, See, Don, I can get on board with the beeswax. Like,
Yeah, beeswax is great. I'm all for beeswax. But I would say, to sort of wrap up the thing about the wax, I've certainly found wax in sewing kits and estate sale stuff, but it's usually they're chunks that have had the thread like run
oh
over them
yeah,
so
it
much.
almost looks like the end of like a
And
pencil eraser because it's
yeah, or
so
it's just
small and
like this
used.
little lump of like, what is this? And you're like, oh, it's wax. No, somebody didn't leave a weird turd in this box.
Um, yes, Don, I can actually get far more on board with the sentimental embroidery with hair, much more than
Yeah.
earwax. Um, or
Hair.
me like I can even semi get on board with some of like that like teeth jewelry thing, but half of me like with this little kitty, half of me is like, "Ugh, God, now I gotta start buying wax. So like really we're reading this book and we really should like change the title to like Jill, all the things that you don't have yet that you need to be buying.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Ugh. All right.
Okay, are we
Moving on
getting to
from
pincushions?
earwax. Oh, thread stands and boxes. I have quite a few of these. I just didn't
Hmm.
bring them up here because my desk
Yes.
area here doesn't really have, but I do have a couple that are very similar
Hmm.
to what's
Yeah,
pictured
and
here.
these are pretty magnificent. What Dawn has pictured in here. I have a couple of things that were like homemade, like, you know, dad made it in the garage or son made it in the shop class kind of stuff. That are not quite as magnificent as these things, but they're charming. They're so, because they're intended to be useful, you know.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
I especially love the ones on page 40 with the doors that open.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
And
I
I love the ones that have the thread portholes.
yeah. Hmm.
And I actually have found like in button boxes some of these, just the regular old that
Hmm.
little doodad, and I had no idea what it was until I actually got something that used them, and I was like, oh, that's what that is. And then I thought, now I need to find people that are missing their little ceramic thread portal so that I can get them that from my from this button box.
I don't think I've ever had any. I don't think I've ever had any. So one thing to bring of note here on page 47, there is just a little clip here of advertising.
Uh-huh.
And I I find this kind of advertising fascinating. Now, it's in black and white, so you don't necessarily know exactly how everything looks. I know how some of this looks just because I've seen examples of them in the flesh. But I mean, Dawn, if you want to do another book, like here you go. I think it would be fascinating to have a book that's just about advertising sewing tools, needlework. We have all of these print media, for did patterns and did this and did that. Like I would find that a compendium, of all that different kinds of advertising, because there's other places in here where ads are like mentioned and stuff, and I was like, I'd really like to see a lot of ads, especially when I don't have to compile them.
So I see. So you're informing Dawn that she needs to write another book specifically about these things that interest you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'll help. I don't want to write it. All
I
right.
would read it. I would for sure read it.
Oh no, I would for sure read it. Of course, I'm the one that wants it. Let
Okay,
us
pins.
let us
What we
move on
have
to
been
pens.
waiting.
Are you sitting on any other photos you'd like to show, my dear?
I think that, let's see, we've got some, the two that are left, I think, make sure I didn't miss one, are sort of sewing kit slash thimble.
Okay.
No.
Just
Oh
wanted to
boy,
make
we're gonna go over tonight.
just want to make sure that we are not skipping anything we really wanted to show.
Yeah, we've
So
got something very cool to show in the with thimbles, but yeah, let's talk about pin cushions and pin holders and things.
yeah,
Um,
I
well,
almost
so
never come across pins still all in the paper. I do come
I
across it.
do, I
I
do
don't.
actually. You just have to be able to look out for them. And when I say I do, the ones I have are newer. They're probably mid-century. They're not like
Okay.
super, super old. So
Mm-hmm.
like this is probably the oldest thing I have that's still,
Mm-hmm.
in the packaging.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a lot of brass pins and stuff from the mid-century that are still
Mm-hmm.
in their little folders. I didn't grab any of those, but
Mm-hmm. I
I do have to show off
page
my magnificent collection of shoe pin cushions.
I do have quite a bit of shoes. But wait,
And I was,
before you even get like crazy on pincushions, page 54,
yeah.
pin folders.
Hmm. Oh, yes, yes.
I like did not know that these were a thing. I, as
Mhm.
far as I know, have not seen them anywhere in the wild, unless I saw them and thought they were something else, which could be very likely,
Yeah,
or they're
yeah. And see,
mislabeled.
that's kind of what I wonder. Like, did you have you seen it and you think that it's a needle case, or people think it's a needle case, or something?
I don't. I would think if I just saw it and it wasn't labeled as a pin folder, I might actually think it was something more for like makeup or combs,
Oh,
something
okay.
curiously long. And
Hmm.
obviously you come across all the time that like things in like antique stores and stuff are mid-lab or are mislabeled. Um,
Right. People
but
just don't know what they are.
pin folders are on my list. Those
Well,
are cute.
they are. And you know what? Like, so she's giving so the linen one is 6 by 2 inches. I mean, that's like, I always look at I have a little cutting mat on my desk, and I mean, like, 6 inches is pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bigger than I would have expected. So yeah, I could see them being like, oh, this was for, some kind of toiletry situation and not necessarily for pins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that I would, if you find one of these things, I want to see it.
Yeah, Robin said that pin folders are new to her as well. Oh, so Dawn said pin folders, some patterns in ladies' Victorian magazines. The pin papers folded perfectly. Another example of using the wide silk ribbon. Mm-hmm. Dawn, do you find that you see those a lot in the wild? Or did you've got some here that are part of your collection with you know, I don't know that I've ever seen them unless I'm just
Yeah,
not
and
paying
I'm
attention.
just wondering, like, if you see one that is, I mean, I guess my question is, like, when you see one, do you know what it is? Like, you see it and you're like, ah, no, that's a pin thing.
Well, hopefully now I will, and I hope it's one of
Yeah.
those scenarios where once you've noticed them, you'll notice them everywhere, kind of a thing,
Right.
and then be like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, there's just pin folders everywhere." Um, she says maybe a few a year. Should I be looking for you? Well, clearly,
Why? Like
clearly.
Jill collects stuff or something?
Yeah, like I need at least one. Like I need at least one good one. I really love this one on the bottom here. It's like a little owl head on
Mm-hmm.
the front of it, the brownish, like shiny
Yeah.
material. That is so cute.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's like the little ties on the corners. And I see these other ones are kind of like that too. It's like little ties on the corners.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's basically like it's just I've got some examples, of the long needle rolls. I have a really
Hmm.
pretty like a light pink silk one. And when I think it's really just that, it's just wider. It's just wider and it just kind of opens
Hmm.
differently, like
Hmm.
Um, I need them. So, moving on to other things that hold pins. Other things that hold pins. You were showing a shoe.
So yeah, and that was, and I will say, Dawn, this is your fault. I was interested in shoe pin cushions, and I think I had one. I don't remember which one it was. But after I got your book and I saw all of the different kinds of shoe pin cushions, I was like, oh, okay, well, Stephanie's got to get some of those. So yes, I have a number of them.
That is definitely a scenario where you know once you notice them,
They're
they're
everywhere, yeah.
everywhere. I have one at not here that's huge. It's like this big and like
So it's like
tall.
a
It's
human
huge.
shoe sized.
Like an elf shoe size, but like a big elf. It was probably for like hat pins. I should take a picture of it. It's massive. It's ridiculous. Um, like I guess we can just almost like free for all here with just like the pin cushions.
Yeah, I have
There's
like, yeah.
just
So,
so on page 67 at the bottom, we're talking about make do's.
mhm.
I actually didn't know necessarily that they were made from the bottoms of broken lamps or candlesticks. I knew it was something, but I have one
Hmm.
I have one here that's very rudimentary. It's been
Oh,
quite loved.
yeah. I
Yeah,
love the
downstairs.
upholstery dangles from it. Those
Yeah, and
dingle
it
balls.
has the remnants of a word on the front from whatever this base is, but I can't make it out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's all wood. It's the finish on the wood is coming off. Um but and it was one of those things, I think I saw this somewhere and they were almost like, it's so ugly, just take it. And I was just like, your ugly is my
Oh,
beautiful.
exactly.
Mm,
Exactly. Yeah, I do love the ingenuity of a handmade pincushion,
mm-hmm.
like because it's like, again, going back to like what kind of things entice people, what kind of things are interesting to people, like, this lady loved chickens. So this is like a little crocheted chicken that's got stuffing inside and a little cardboard thing on the bottom, and it's a pincushion. Um, like, and I just think I was looking through my stuff and I think how many different kinds of pincushions I have that are just, a little bit of lace and a couple pieces of fabric, like maybe precious fabric, like a little swatch of something precious, and it's just been
Oh
stitched
yeah, way to
together.
make a keepsake.
Hmm. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
on page 70 with the more sculptural pin cushions, we have, this bad boy
Ah, I
here.
love those. Yeah.
And this one, because so like, here's my hand for scale. This one's quite small in comparison. I've seen some that are massive, and I always think of starfish. I see these.
Yeah, they do look a little like a sea creature.
Yeah, like it just kind of, yeah, yeah. Um,
Oh, this one. This is one that I thought was so interesting, the way that they put together all the little
yeah.
squares.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's like, to me, that's almost like a pin cushion slash ornament.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of these things, like, I mean, I'm pulled up this whole thing. Um, I suspect that there were probably people that like knew how to make these. And then I feel like there's probably people who didn't. And so you get ones that are kind of like strange, like, what? What's going on there? And I'm not saying this one in particular, but I do feel like I often see that where it's like got weird, you know, weird proportions, or things are just odd about them,
So
because they
there's
were
there's another store that I really like to go to that's in New
cute little.
Hampshire that I do very well at. I've actually even I get stuff for Dawn at there too. It's a really great store. And they have those big floor to ceiling glass cases that vendors rent. And I'm just milling along. I think I'm kind of deciding between 75 things that I want. And I look down and there's a big leg that's a pincushion.
It's just a random leg.
It's just a leg. And I remember sending the picture to Dawn being like, okay, like what's up with this? Like, why is there just like a leg? Like picture like the leg lamp from
Yeah, that's what
A Christmas Story, but just the leg. Like
uh-huh.
with the foot, and I mean the proportions were great. And it's the foot and then the calf and it stops at the knee. And it's a pincushion. Uh it was weird. And I feel like at the time Don was like, people like weird stuff. Just
Yeah, they
like weird
do.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
And again, it's like it's a low stakes kind of thing to make a pincushion, I think, because it doesn't take much fabric. You can stuff it with like whatever, and yeah, you
so
like you
what?
get a fan. You
Is the person that made that one like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Like,
well, but the thing is, like, I mean, it could have been a joke, could it have been, some kind of inside story between people, and it was made for. I don't know. I mean, there's like so many different.
Janet said it's the anatomy class reject. What half of me wonders, like, it might be cute, okay? The only scenario where it might be cute is if like your profession was that like you made stockings or something, like women's stockings.
Yeah.
But can you just imagine like, your husband and you're like, it's my wife's birthday. And you come home and you be like, honey, I got you a gift. Swoom, and on the counter is a leg.
Put all your pins in that, babe.
Half of me is like, do I still have that photo somewhere? Um, I might have to look through it. Otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still there. Went back, be like, walk in, be like, you still got that leg.
You know, the leg. Yeah. Um, but yes, all of these beautiful little doodads. I just, varying levels of like this one with the rickrack, I think is probably, I mean that
I
that
have
gives
one of
me,
those.
yeah, that kind of gives me like Girl Scout project vibes. Even though I think this is probably much older than
Don
that,
says they
but
were suggestive.
but this kind of stuff down here, I mean, you know, like that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
You could just do so many things with
On
pincushions and
on 72 with the Native American ones, I have one of those that is
yeah.
like in the form of like kind of a roll. It's like you've got all this
Hmm.
like heavy beading on the outside, and then clasp on this side, and then it's got a silk lining
Oh, nice.
with the pincushion on the inside. And I find
Yeah.
that the Native American beading stuff, that's a scenario where you'll notice them everywhere once you see them.
And those, and I'm trying to see, did she mention this in here? Well, she talks about the, oh yes, Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls was
Hmm.
one of like the major places that, and it's Iroquois, isn't it? Weren't they
There's
Iroquois that
Iroquois,
brought that?
there's Seneca. Um, she does mention Seneca and Iroquois on 72.
Hmm. But yeah, I have, well, see, mine's not a pincushion though. I think mine's just a decorative thing. It's like a horseshoe. I was
Hmm.
with you when I bought it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It was like nights of like 1930 something, I
mhm.
feel like.
No, it was like 1901.
Oh, well, I mean, but
Yeah.
like it has a date like that
Yeah,
on
it
it.
has a date on it.
I
Yeah.
love on 76, the very bottom, that horseshoe and the shoe pincushion that's kind of um like
Oh,
on
yes.
like a pedestal. That is
What a
so
bizarre thing.
cool.
Yes, what a bizarre thing.
It's funny because like, there's times where like I feel like I have a lot of collectible stuff. And then I
Mhm.
look at something like this and I'm like, oh, I got nothing.
I know. And again, I look at this stuff too, and I'm like, yeah, I've got all these like tourist trap stuff that, they made a million of. But yeah, that one is such an interesting, and again, you wonder like who made that and why. Did they just have a fanciful idea, you know?
Or like moving on to the pinballs. I don't know if do I have any pinballs? I don't think that I do. I have
I
one
don't.
downstairs. It's clearly a reproduction. Um,
And I feel like pinballs, they're older. They're not
they're much,
because they
I almost never see them, and when I do, they're expensive. I actually was with Dawn when she bought one. Um,
well, when I think of pinballs, I mean, again, I think of like these have the thing in the middle, like the like some type of, I don't know, metal, or I think this other one's not really metal, but I mean, I think they're meant to hang from like a chatelaine or something, right?
what
Isn't
page are you
that,
looking at, honey?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh yes,
Page
yes, on the page
80.
80. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I always feel like when I
Yep.
see pinballs, I think that they're just kind of an older, thing because I don't know, they just, they were meant to be on the person or something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, 79, she's got the one up here that has like a clip. There's like a chatelaine clip.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I think, does my chatelaine have one? It could. So, it's funny. The back to the page 76 there with the horseshoe. Janet and Robin both said it reminded them of the USS Enterprise. Oh my God, I am a child of the next generation. Mm.
Okay, yeah. it does
That
have
like,
that sort of vibe to it.
oh, that totally, I could totally get on board with that. Half of me is like, why isn't there a USS Enterprise pincushion? There probably is. But then Dawn mentioned that she covets that almost as much as she covets my nut. That's a weird sentence.
Yes, and we will not see Jill's nut until we get to another part of the book.
I will show people, the nut. But Dawn, good to know that you covet that. So I'm guessing,
Yeah.
so Dawn, does that mean you've never seen one of those in the wild? I didn't realize, I wasn't paying attention that this was a collection of someone else.
Yeah, somebody else.
I've never seen one. Have you ever seen one? Oh, and Dawn also said some of the silver rings were for silver waist clips and on the waistband.
Mm-hmm. Ah, on the
Um,
waistband. Okay.
mhm. Oh, she said that's one of a kind. Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I look
I
at that
think
and I
she,
see like this is a woodworker or somebody who's very talented and had some kind of crazy idea.
well, half of me is just like, wouldn't that be hysterical if like I go out shopping and I come home like, Dawn, look what I found. It's just like the one in your book. And she'll be like, well, we're not friends anymore. Like,
So, we're gonna go way over today, but let us move on to Thimbles.
my
And
goodness.
let me pull
I mean,
up.
to be fair, these particular first chapters were longer chapters, so we've already
And I
gotten
mean,
through half the book. 3 chapters.
well, and also, like I didn't anticipate that yeah, I mean I did anticipate that we could just randomly talk about this stuff nonstop. It's not just a few hours. I could talk about this stuff for much longer than that. So,
Yeah, so let's talk about
yes.
thimbles.
So, this picture, I love such a great picture. I'm assuming that is Dawn's finger there. And you can see that this is a child's sewing box, and that is a child's thimble. And I don't know how much we've really said about it on streams before, but Jill and I often talk about, when I was 7, I was pretty much like I had mastered tying my shoes. But children in ye old times were being taught to sew at like 4 and 5 years old and were expected to contribute, right? I need to stop holding my hand up because it,
Actually, according to this, we're talking even younger than that, like 3 to 5.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, I'm talking about like when we would see samplers. I'm sorry, I left out that part. We see
Mhm.
samplers that are made by these children, and it'll be like 7 years old or, 5 years old. And I'm thinking, I couldn't thread a needle when I was that little, you know?
So Dawn said, I'm assuming, Dawn, that you mean that that's your pinky finger. Child's thimble, the first thimble drills, the lessons were at age 3 to 4. Oh my God. Like,
That is so crazy.
I actually, it's one of those things too, like I sit here and I think about it. Do I wish that I'd gotten that kind of structure at that age? Or that, I don't know. But I wouldn't mind if I was making samplers like those 7-year-olds. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I learned how to cross stitch at 7, and my mom enrolled me in like a little kids cross stitch class. And
hmm
I literally, like, I don't know, I sewed, it was a little tiny Christmas tree ornament sort of thing that was like in a little frame, but the little stitching was this big, and it was probably like a total of like 15 stitches. And I got tired of it halfway through.
hmm
So I guess this is the privilege of being a modern child and not having to learn how to sew to contribute to the household, right?
Well, there you go. Robin was just saying there's no way her 4-year-old granddaughters could have the attention span.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's funny because like attention span issues aren't new, like that's kind of stuff's always been around. I feel like we just put such a high value on discipline
Yeah.
that
Well,
that
I also, I mean, I don't want to get off into a whole, tangent on it, but I really and truly feel like people, like, our brains work differently today because we do have like this constant barrage of information and the internet and all the stuff. And I think that it has changed our brains.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have all that stimulation coming at you all the time, you can be much more laser focused. You know, your attention's not everywhere. So that's kind of like, I mean, that's my opinion. But I mean, I really feel like, you know, in 1850, you didn't have so much coming at you, or 1880 is when she's got this dated. 1880, you did not have Nickelodeon and Disney Channel and the internet and YouTube and like all these things. You just had like, hey kid, go learn how to sew. You know, now you can make beautiful things, and also somebody's gonna have to mend your father's pants.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be able to know how to use a needle in order to get married.
Yep.
So do you collect thimbles?
So not really. And who was it? Was it Janet that mentioned collecting thimbles?
Mm-hmm.
So like I said,
You got
I
that.
have this situation. I do like when I find thimbles that are kind of cool, I like to, you know, like this is this particularly thick pink plastic thimble, you know, and I'm assuming it's plastic. It might, yeah, I guess it's plastic. Because I guess celluloid is too brittle, I think, to
Could it
make a
be like
thimble.
Bakelite?
I think it's plastic.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's, you know, things like that I love. I have bought a couple of thimbles specifically because they were interesting. One I
Same.
I don't know what I did with it, but I have one that it's a I want to say it's probably English, and it is an advertising thimble for soup. Which is why I thought like soup. And the tip of it, it's an aluminum thimble, but the tip of it has a glass disc in it. And I thought that
Interesting.
was so cool. Yeah. And that those are, you know, a specific type of thimble. But also, I ran across this man who his wife had passed away and he was selling her thimble collection, like thimble by thimble. And she had like a bunch of beautiful things, like sterling silver stuff, stuff with like cloisonne, like the kind of thimbles you don't actually use. You put them in a little doodad thing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I bought this. It is a glass thimble, and I think she had a couple of them. But I was like, this is Wonder Woman's thimble. She uses when she's on her invisible jet.
That is nuts. You're gonna have to show that again though when you go back to regular screen. Because you have one more thing that has a thimble on it, I believe, right?
Yes, actually, let me stop share real quick just so I can show this.
Yeah, it like magnifies your finger, I feel like.
Yeah, and but I mean, it's very plain. It has like some little dimples in the tip of it that I might be too hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's got this little frill around the edge,
Mm-hmm.
you know, little glass, and but that's all it is. And I, you know, like this to me is technically usable, I think. You know, like you could use this. Um, anyway, I just thought it was so cool. I was like, oh, a glass thimble. Like, come
Well,
on.
yeah, come on, it's like Cinderella's glass slipper.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I have to say, like, I'm like you. I will get a thimble when I find a very interesting thimble that speaks to me. Or of course, when you buy, a box of sewing and thimbles come in it. Um, and of course, I'll get a thimble if it comes with because I will buy thimble cases, like on 91
Mhm.
here, like the shell cases and stuff. I do have a couple of those with thimbles.
Yeah.
But as a rule, I don't necessarily call myself a thimble collector because I feel like that's almost like obviously it's related, but sometimes it's its own collecting
Well,
beast.
it is. It's like collecting pincushions. You know, and I feel like thimbles are the same way. And you've got thimbles that are usable and used that are interesting and valuable, you
Mm-hmm.
know, from ye olden days, sterling silver, all that kind of thing. But then you've got those like collector thimbles that are like, I actually have some sitting on a shelf across from me. I think it was Avon that released their ladies' busts, like, and it's a thimble. And I mean, you can't use that to sew with, but it's, you know, it's like a collectible thing.
Yeah, so I don't get on board with those ones. The the fancy like porcelain or all the
Hmm.
presidents or I don't necessarily I like the metal, the sterling and
Hmm.
the stuff like
Yeah.
that. Or the new, the advertising kind of
Hmm.
ones that they use. Um
I
Actually,
have more than a few of those advertising ones.
I and then on 94 here, the wishbone crochet thimble
So
holder.
yeah, so I saved the wishbone from Thanksgiving, and I have yet to actually I found a pattern for how to make them. But I have yet to actually do anything with it. But yeah, this is also something I think I had just learned about around the time that I bought the book. And I remember thinking, like, what a weird, bizarre thing. And then I saw it in here and, collection of the author. So we know Dawn has this or had this. It is such a bizarre thing, but it was like a craft that, and I don't know if it was regional or the pattern I saw, I think was printed in some craft magazine, in the
You know what's funny is shortly after
early
you
20th
were telling
century.
me about that, because I was like Thanksgiving, right?
Hmm.
Um, Around Christmas when I was out shopping for either my Christmas gift or my birthday present, I found one. You remember me sending you a picture of one that I found that I considered getting?
Yeah, I think I do remember you taking a picture of it
I
and
also
showing it to
then
me.
saved a couple of wishbones. They're still on my kitchen
Oh,
windowsill. I saved them in
hmm.
case you accidentally broke yours when you were making your thing.
Well, you're welcome to bring them to me because I have not yet started the
So what
crafting, but
kind
I
of
do
gift
intend
did
to.
you get from Jill? Well, she brought me some bones.
It's my handful of
Yeah,
bones.
she brought me
Um,
some food trash.
um, so what was now I've lost my spot in here. So this last picture I have up is a um like a bag or a case. And I think what she said, let me read what she said about this. Because like we said, these are not in the book as I had thought at first. So she said this is was could be carried for personal clothing grooming with a few coins, primary use not really an elaborate sewing bag. So this is just like a little carrier that you could put things in. But notice in the corners there are placed, I think they're thimble holders, right, in those inner corners.
Hmm.
And then you've got some little pockets, and then you've got like the little those little loops at the top that you could slide different things in.
I
Um,
actually have one just like this. It's not nearby. Hey, Barb.
um, and the other thing I loved about this is the little chalk. I've never seen that before. It
Oh,
looks
the
like a
marking
little,
chalk.
it looks like a little lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, I'm, just kind of like, looking at the size of things. I mean, this is a tiny little thing. This is not a
Yeah, it's
huge.
they're pretty, well, the one I have at least,
Hmm.
they're pretty small. Dawn said that one corner is a thimble, the other corner is a pin cushion. It's kind of hard to tell, I guess,
Oh, okay. So
with the
oh,
light.
you know what? Yes, pin cushion, hat pin length. So that right there, then that's
Mm-hmm.
the pin cushion, and then this one is the thimble holder.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
The
think.
thimble
I'll
holder.
actually have to like find mine and see, because I don't know if mine has a thimble holder inside or not. It might just be, you know what? You saw it because I got it at the
Yeah,
Poolsville.
did you? Yeah, I was gonna ask you, are you talking about the one that you bought at the
That's the
antique
one
store?
where another dealer at the show was like, "Please don't make me take this home."
Well, what I was gonna say though, I lost my place in here.
Well, while
Oh,
you're looking
so
for it, Barb said that there's a lot of wishbone pincushions um around here, and I'm assuming here she means Pennsylvania.
and that was my question about those two is are they kind of a regional thing?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen people like maybe in like Tennessee, Kentucky, kind of like that area, um making them. But again, I didn't know if it was like a regional thing or if I just happened to find info from people in Kentucky and Tennessee. So I
Oh,
don't
I
know.
see. Mm-hmm.
But what I was gonna say, page 94,
Mm-hmm.
we got the little
Yeah.
hat thimble holder slash. I have one.
Remember to change your view.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Sorry. I forget
I
that I'm
have
sharing.
I have a ton of these.
And I love this because it just reminds me of like this big sun hat. Isn't it the cutest? And it's the little snap is broken, but and the thimble fits right there in the hat.
No, and like, isn't that like the most ingenious idea? Because you have
Yeah.
like
And then
the
it's
whole
got the little
thing
pages.
the only thing I don't like about those, although yours seems pretty stable, is the
Hmm.
ones like in here that are like crocheted. They're very flimsy. So I find
Yeah.
oftentimes like if I go to pick them up in a particular way, the thimble flies out
Yeah. Well,
because I'm
this
not
one
holding them on.
it had a little snap. No, there's like a little snap there, but
Okay.
it's damaged. The bottom
But
part
the
came off.
bottom of yours doesn't look flimsy. It looks taut. Is it hard?
Um, this bottom part,
Yeah, is that hard?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like cardboard that
Like a
has like
cardstock.
a silky, yeah, and I'm assuming this is silk. I don't know, like a satiny, silky kind
Hmm.
of. But yeah, it's so perfect that the
Hmm.
thimble fits right in there perfectly. I'm assuming that maybe they crocheted it around the thimble to make sure that it fit.
That would make sense.
Could be, yeah.
Dawn said that the ladies' magazines with the crochet over bones were national, but may have been more popular in various areas.
Gotcha. Yeah. I guess there's probably some communities that are probably like, heck yeah, I'm going to use these turkey bones. And then there's these other communities that are like, turkey bone? Um, oh, okay. So thimbles. One thing, and this is kind of the end of my basket of treasures. So I know that the little acorns are very popular,
What?
right?
You had acorns?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of them. So these
Okay,
two are
didn't I tell
actually,
you that I bought acorns because someone was posting about acorns on Dawn's Facebook group for the needlework tools? And I was like, well, crap, now I need acorns. Why weren't you on there sharing your acorns?
well, first
That
of all,
first one you showed, the top of it's really cool.
okay, I'll show you that one again in a minute. These two are actually new. These were made by there's like a
Woodworking guy?
woodworker, yeah, like a
Mhm.
woodworking guy that makes like the handles and stuff for seam rippers and crochet
Yep.
hooks, and then he makes these kind of things. And so that's what these two are.
And they're thimble
And
holders or what's inside
they're the
them?
yeah, they're thimble holders.
Because I
I
have
don't
one
currently
that's
have
the thread holder.
yeah, I don't currently have anything in them, but they're new.
Hmm.
But this is actually not wooden. It's that, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe you guys know the tagua or tagua nut.
Hmm.
It's a nut that's carved. And so, yeah, it's got this nice carving on it. And then like the little finial. And
Hmm.
then the tip of the acorn also has this nice
Wow,
carving.
that's
Okay.
really nice. You need to take some pictures of that so it
Yes.
can go and
Oh, but wait,
your combo's like, Jill just got really excited. You bet I did. Oh my goodness.
that's the little thimble that comes out of there. And this is the smallest thimble I own. And I'm thinking, I don't think this is a child's. I just think it happens to be a tiny, like it's carved to fit in there.
Hmm.
Um, now I could be wrong, but I suspect that this was just maybe some type of like souvenir piece or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I have a carved tape measure one too that you wind up on the top of it.
That's an acorn?
We'll look at those. No, 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 it's not an acorn. It's just like a little ball with a stick on it,
Oh, it's just
I
like,
think.
man.
But it's
Who
similar and it's
knew
made
you
out
were
of
over
this.
here just hiding all these ornate acorns? You're squirreling away your little acorns.
Well, see, I love squirrels. I have some squirrels. I think I probably only have one or two needlework related squirrel things, but I do have acorns.
All
Um,
right.
yeah. And I don't know, acorns, I think that they have symbolism,
Hmm.
not just the fact that they're cute and it's I mean, I have literally seen people make pincushions with actual acorn caps,
Hmm.
make it into a pincushion. But I think that there's some symbolism with acorns, like I don't know, loyalty or something like that. Is there a branch of the military that maybe uses the acorns? And
I am
I'm
definitely
not
not going
sure.
to ask.
Yeah, I'm not super educated on that. So
Janet says she hasn't seen turkey bone thimble holders in California, but I have seen wine tasting people with wine glass holders around their neck just like them. Oh, the innovation.
That is so funny.
All right. Are we ready for a giveaway?
I think we're ready for a giveaway.
I've paid attention. I have taken everybody's name down. Everybody's name has a number. And remember, you are winning this beautiful mug that I have been drinking out of. It's not booze.
Sure, Jill.
So you've seen me use it. You've seen that it is a good mug. This is not the mug I'm sending you. Yours is in a box. Let me get my random number generator here.
Although Jill and I are going to be in the same place this week, so if you want us to take your mug and like before we send it to you, or we'll do it. Somehow, I don't think you guys are that kind of crowd. So,
all right, drum roll, please. Our winner tonight is Tish.
hey,
Congratulations,
congrats,
Tish.
Tish.
You get this lovely mug. You just have to get me your address. Please do not put it in the chat. You can either get it to me via private message on the Instagram account. You can send me a private message on Facebook if you're on Facebook, or Steph if you're on Facebook. Or if you want, you can send it to the email, which is quiltnerding@gmail.com. But get that to me so that I can send you your awesome mug. And thank you again so much, Dawn, for giving us the giveaway goods.
Yes. Thank you
Because
so
where
much,
would we
Dawn.
be without the giveaway goods?
I have to say, you have set the bar high, Dawn.
I know. Who's gonna want to go back to just reading a book?
Well, I mean, we would like to read some more books that are not out of print, that are, because there's lots of cool research going on and writing. But, I'm thinking, like, if we approach some other authors, they're going to be like, John set this impossibly high. I don't know if I can, I can stand up to this.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Hi, Doggy Noses. For anyone that doesn't know, Doggy Noses would be my partner in crime, who has very nicely reminded you to like the stream so that you help us get visibility on content. He came in too late to win the mug. You don't get to steal my mug, sweetheart. It's for me, it's not for you. So another reminder is that next week, which will be Steph and I will be just back from our trip. It'll be the 16th. We'll be reading chapters 4, 5, and 6. And I will
Those are
Bodkins.
I have something very cool to show. Yeah, so it's bodkins, awls, and stilettos. I have something very cool to show for bodkins. Scissors and cutting. I have some interesting things there too. And then sewing rolls.
Right. Robin, we do know what the next book will be. You don't happen to have it handy, do you, Steph?
I don't. Or is it Legacy?
Yes. Do you have it handy? No.
I don't.
We'll show it next time, Robin, but not to worry. By the way, Robin, can you message Steph? She needs to ask you something. I'll you know what I'll do, Robin, is I'll post the next book to the Instagram and then we'll show it next Tuesday. And otherwise, I don't think there's any more major announcements, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Did I catch everything good?
So fun.
Okay. This has been delightful. We clearly can't be contained. I also, it's funny for the bodkin chapter, I just stumbled upon a purchase I made of some things that, you put in a bag somewhere and you forgot you had, and I had recently sent down a picture look what I rediscovered. So I'll have that very interesting to show next time. So many things to show, so many things to talk about.
I know. And so many, I have to say I've been so inspired by this book. So
great. And just in time for us to go shopping in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and for participating. And remember, if you want to be entered in the big week 4 giveaway, which is Dawn's newest book, do you have it handy?
I don't, but I was just
Okay.
going to show.
I
You
thought you were
just have to take a
grabbing it. I thought you were
picture.
picking it up. Yes, if you have
I
it,
did.
please take a picture. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but it definitely helps spread the word about our stream here and about Dawn's work and her books. And we really like to do stuff where we're supporting each other. So please get us those pictures so that you can be entered. You have all 4 weeks to do that. And we'll come back next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, where
All
we'll
right.
probably be exhausted from shopping, but we'll
I
have
know.
things
But
to show.
think of the goodies we could show. Or if nothing else, we could at least show pictures of looking at goodies. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being here, for being so generous. We love you so very much. And Barb, we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Mwah.